Season 5, Episode 29, Black History Moments is a podcast dedicated to telling the stories of those who have been forgotten or who are lesser known in our history. But this episode is going to be a little bit different. It is going to be a continuation of our series that we have been having here that began February for Black History Month. We started a series on the history of different historically Black colleges and universities. This episode continues with that series, and we are going to be covering the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University. North Carolina Agricultural and Mechanical University was established on March 9, 1891 by the General Assembly, and this group is the legislative body that creates laws and regulations for the state of North Carolina. However, what we now know as North Carolina Agricultural and Mechanical University was originally founded as the Agricultural and Mechanical College for the Colored Race under the Second Morrill Act. The first Morrill Act was signed into law in 1862 by then-President Abraham Lincoln, and this act provided federal land grants to states to establish colleges that were focused on either agriculture or the mechanical acts. This is when we got those earlier HBCUs like Lincoln University, which we have an episode on if you want to check that out or if you haven't listened to it yet. But almost 30 years after the first Morrill Act, there was a second Morrill Act of 1890. Now, this one required states with racially segregated public higher education systems to either provide a land grant institution specifically for Black students or demonstrate that admission to the existing land grant institutions was not based on race. For example, under the first Morrill Act, if a state had been given funding to establish a college, but say over the years that state had not opened the admission to Black students, then you either had to open a school for Black students separate or show the government that you weren't hindering them for entering the school. So the first Morrill Act didn't explicitly state that you could not have discriminatory practices with admission into the land grant schools, which is why we had to go back with the second Morrill Act to kind of fix that. So this is how we got here. NCAT, or at this time, the Agricultural and Mechanical College for the Colored Race, became the second school founded under the second Morrill Act. The school started with 4 teachers and 37 students, and they would meet in the annex of Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. According to the school site, quote, in 1892, the college's board of trustees voted to move the institution from Shaw University in the annex to East Greensboro when a group of local citizens raised $11,000 and donated 14 acres of land to provide the college a new home. Now, in about today's numbers, $11,000 is almost equivalent to $315,000. Imagine. So they used the $11,000 to construct a new building, and the General Assembly put in $2,500 to supplement the new bills and also the move to East Greensboro. The first building was completed in 1893, and the doors officially opened the fall of that year under the leadership of the college's first president, John Oliver Crosby. Now, John Oliver Crosby was born on a plantation in South Carolina, and he attended Shaw University where he earned a degree in theology. An interesting fact about him was that he was a carpenter, and under his presidency at North Carolina, he, quote, oversaw construction of the college's first administration building and made the first of the bricks with which it was constructed. In 1894, Crosby planned the North Dormitory, which housed 100 students. He designed Crosby Hall, which was known as the finest structure of its kind throughout the southern states. And the North Dormitory was also completed in 1896. Under his administration, female students were admitted to the college in 1893, and he remained there until the end of the session in 1901 when the Board of Trustees decided that the school should be male only. Now, women were not readmitted until 1928. But it was also under his leadership that 2 academic departments were created. Those were agriculture and the mechanical arts. Now, remember at this time in the United States, those were the primary focuses of a ton of colleges and universities. And in 1896, amid internal and also external criticisms, Dr. Crosby terminated his office as presidency and returned to Salisbury, North Carolina, where he resumed his position as the principal of LC State Normal School, end quote. Now, I was curious about why John Crosby left the school, and if he had done so much to advance it during his tenure there, why was he leaving and why were there so many criticisms about his presidency? But I couldn't find any information on that. If you out there happen to know anything about it, let me know. I'm still curious about it. After John Crosby left, the next president was Dr. James B. Dudley in 1896. And Dr. Dudley had been born into slavery and went on to attend Shaw University just like the previous president. According to the university's history, quote, the college's prestige was declining as a result of internal and external conflicts. Therefore, Dudley's first task as president was to bring cohesiveness to the college family and to also champion its cause throughout the state. As a result of hard work and much vigor by Dudley, the college grew and developed from 58 students who lived in one brick dormitory to 476 students in regular session and 500 students in the summer session. In 1925, there was also an increase in the physical plant from the 1 classroom building, where 8 teachers taught, to 13 buildings. The value of the college went from $50,000 in 1896 to over $1 million, and 74 more acres were purchased to add to the college's 26 acres. By 1904, the college owned a 100-acre farm that was equipped with labor-saving farm machinery and devices, end quote. Now, a fun fact under his presidency is that his wife, her name was Susie Wright Sampson Dudley. She is credited with writing the alma mater for the school. So if we have any NCAT people in the house, I don't know if you all know that your second president's wife wrote your alma mater. Under his presidency, the first degrees were conferred in 1899, and after serving as president for 29 years, Dr. Dudley unfortunately passed in his sleep, which brought in the next president, Dr. Ferdinand D. Bluford. Dr. Bluford had earned his bachelor's degree from Howard University, which we also have an episode on if you want to learn about the history of Howard. It is the episode right before this one. From the site, quote, with Bluford's guidance, A&T was raised from a D-class college in 1927 to an A-class institution in 1932 by the North Carolina Department of Education and by other leading educational agencies as well. By 1955, the campus had grown to 110 acres. The farmland reached a total of 672 acres, and also the property value of the 35 campus buildings was up to $12 million. That's a lot of money, even in today's time. The graduate school and the schools of agriculture, education, general studies, engineering, and nursing were established, as well as the Technical Institute. Now, going back a bit, it was under President Bluford that women began to be admitted into the school, again, for the second time. And also under his tenure, the First Lady of the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt, came to tour the campus with President Bluford. North Carolina A&T, like some other HBCUs during this time, became pivotal parts of the civil rights movement. And it is notable for its role in the movement when a famous lunch counter sit-in began when 4 of its students, Franklin McCain, Joseph McNeil, David Richmond, and Ezell Blair Jr. These 4 took seats at the Woolworth department store's lunch counter, refusing to move, although the store was segregated. Quote, the students who became known as the A&T 4 endured racial slurs and violence as they peacefully sat. Their actions, while not the first sit-ins against segregation to occur, became widely popular, inspiring tens of thousands of other people to use similar methods in fighting segregation and Jim Crow laws. End quote. Now, you have probably seen the picture of these four men over and over again. If you had no idea who they were students at North Carolina A&T. Their actions helped spark a national movement that cannot be emphasized enough. And I just believe that we have to get back to the roots of these things, because HBCUs, and more specifically, the students at these institutions, were so crucial to the advancement of Black people, from organizing bus boycotts, lunch counter sit-ins, voting rights, women's rights. We have to get back to these institutions not only being places for educational advancement, but also social, economic, and political advancement as well. In 1967, the school's name was changed to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, and soon after became a part of the university system of North Carolina. With 59 degree programs, 36 master's programs, and 13 doctoral degree programs, NCAT hasn't only been a spark for the civil rights movement, but has also helped educate so many people that have left their mark in our history, like Dr. Ronald McNair, who was a part of the Challenger crew, Terrence J., Jesse Jackson, Sylvia Obell, Shelby Christie, and so many more. So, dear A&T, a monument indeed. I have no doubt that this school will not only continue to uphold the missions of those that came before, but I also believe that we haven't even seen the best that is yet to come from North Carolina A&T University. That brings us to the end of this episode. I hope that you share it with someone that you know, whether it be a coworker, your neighbor down the street, the person at the water cooler in your office, or even a graduate of an HBCU. I hope that you remember that you too are Black history, and I will see you in the next one.